Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zoey's Treasures. My name's Tracy, and as always, I'm here with my husband, Noel. He's back over there this time, but we are in a different, thank you so much, Stumpy. We are in a different location. We are in Orlando. So if you caught the show this morning, you will know that we came down here for a cheer competition. And so we are streaming from our Airbnb, which is a little bit different for us. But my husband, y'all know him. He has his whole little studio going on here. So he's got all the stuff. So we still have all the graphics and the cool things going on. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we are talking about separating business and personal finances. Hello, Tabitha. Oh, goodness gracious, y'all. It has been a day. I've been nonstop since about 7 o'clock this morning. We did our show this morning. I've been at cheer all day, rushed back here, got a quick little rest, and now we're doing the show. Normally on Fridays, historically, I have been doing 7 a.m. I'll do an hour of business and then an hour. I am very tired today. We had so we drove in here. Let me tell one story at a time, then I'll tell you. So normally on Friday mornings, I do business and tax all together. I was finding over the last few weeks that it wasn't becoming effective. It's just one of those things that needed to change. So now we're going to do business in the morning and tax at night. So we're still covering all the same information. I'm just breaking it up into two pieces. And I am tired. We drove here yesterday, got in at about 11:30 last night, up first thing this morning, and it's just been a long couple of days. So, and of course, I don't know about you guys, but every time I go somewhere, I never sleep well the first night. So any new hotel, any new Airbnb, that first night is always like, I just don't sleep well. But I think that's kind of common. I think a lot of people experience that. And that's what I'm feeling today. So anyways, let's get going here. I want to talk about separating our business and our personal finances. And I'm hoping that I'm bringing a few points that maybe you haven't considered, or at least maybe presenting them in a way that you haven't heard yet. Because separating your business and your personal, that's not anything new. We've all heard this, right? I know in my accounting courses that I do on Monday nights, I've talked about this frequently, but I've never really addressed it during our live seller collection. So I thought we would do that. But there's a few key points and a few unique things about this that I want to bring out. So the first one is that separating your personal from your business actually simplifies your taxes. So we're not just talking, and we got a reg, Dragonfly's rating us. Thank you so much.
Welcome in, Raiders. Grab your hats and step into Zoey's Treasures, where the relics aren't cursed. They are for sale.
All right. Thank you so much. If you're just coming in, welcome to Zoey's Treasures. We are doing a tax talk tonight. We are talking about separating personal and business finances. Dragonfly, I know who you are. I know how great you are and what you do, but everybody else may not know. So please put in the chat who you are, what you do, what you sell, all the details so that people who like it can go ahead and give you a follow. I got pictures. I was pretty excited. I actually got pictures, so I saw some of that preview. I definitely want to go check out the show. There's some really cool vintage glass, among other things, coming up really soon. So, all right, let's keep going. So we were talking about separating your business and your personal finances. I'm a little like, goodness gracious today. And we're not talking about that it's just for good bookkeeping. It goes deeper than that, far more than just good bookkeeping. It's like reading a story. When you do it right, it's a really good story. If you're not separating it, it's like trying to reconstruct a mystery. And that's super hard to do, right? Flying Through the Century show, 1879 to the 1970s tomorrow. That is so amazing. Y'all, right there, really, check it out. Okay, so you don't want to have to reconstruct a mystery novel, right? You just want to open up your books and have a good story. That's what your financials tell about your business. But it creates a really messy, muddy story when you're mixing all your personal and your business. So let's talk about, if you are mixing it, what happens? Well, and hopefully you don't have a two timeline problem. So this is when you have your life, your personal, and your business, and they're all in the same bank account, same credit card, same everything, and trying to separate after the fact. It's like you have these two timelines going and they get mixed up together. Trying to separate that afterwards is where you're going to create mistakes, you're going to miss tax deductions, and you're going to leave money on the table. So we don't want these two timelines intermingling with each other. We want our business here and our personal over here in everything we do. And everything that I'm going to talk about today is not just bank accounts. Bank accounts, number one, and we're going to talk about that being like your first step. But I'm talking about credit cards, phones, even using separate phones if you can, physical space, computers. You want to think in completely of having a business and having your personal life. It is so important to have some segregation between those. Obviously, very important in your finances, but also in all these other things that you're doing. And we'll get into some of that on why. The next issue that if you don't separate is tax season scavenger hunt. I love a good scavenger hunt, but I don't like a tax season scavenger hunt. I don't want to have to get to, February and be looking back at the prior March and say, oh, what was that $23.41 charge to Target? Was that personal or was that business? And then multiply that 200 times. I don't want to go through that scavenger hunt. That's no fun. So if you're keeping everything separated on the front end, you're not going to have to play the tax season scavenger hunt game. The next thing that can happen if you don't separate is called the accidental business subscription. Y'all, tell me, have you ever signed up for something, forgot like maybe the free trial, and then forgot that you signed up for the free trial, and then all of a sudden it starts hitting your account over and over? This is really common in business where we're trying out maybe different AI softwares or different editing tools or different like social media type posting tools. I don't know about you guys, but there's been quite a lot of those things that I have tried out on the free trial. It's really easy to try one of those out and you give them the personal credit card and then months later you realize you're being charged, but that charge just kind of disappears in the middle of gas and grocery receipts and you don't see it, right? Hello, Brittany. And hello, Miss Jen Hen. Welcome in. So we don't want to play the accidental business subscription game. And it's really easy to do when you're mixing it because that business stuff, instead of being where it's easy to view and see, is getting hidden in a mix of grocery orders and Uber Eats and sports fees for your kids, right? Not good. The next reason why you don't want to is called the refund boomerang. Imagine this. Imagine that you order some supplies, but you're still mixing all your business and your personal, right? So you order some, shipping supplies, office supplies, whatever it is. You don't need some of it. You end up returning it, and that refund goes somewhere. Refund goes to business, personal. It's all mixed in there. You can't figure out what it is, and you have this really weird balance sitting there. Now you have this credit balance, and you're like, what the heck's going on? These are all sound like little things. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming in, Brittany. Hi, and I hope you have a great night. Give that baby some hugs. So these all sound like little things, but they're little things for a day. They're little things for right now. Think about this 365 days a year happening over and over and over again. Those little things can quickly blow up into really big financial problems, all because you don't take the time to separate it out into your business and your personal. The next thing we really want to think about is cleaner records equals fewer questions. I love fewer questions. I want to make things nice and easy. Who just got that? Previously mentioned, did you just get that giveaway? Oh my gosh, you guys, have you seen this? Whatnot did some updates. This is the first time I'm seeing it, and it totally changes like the way the giveaway pops up. I kind of like the new update. We are giving away CEO affirmation card packs today. Not the whole, where they're like, you get like a card or two and you get a vintage postcard. So having clean records, it just doesn't help you. It can help answer questions quickly and confidently and consistently, answering the same way every time. So let's see if you can pass this test. Just throw a yes or a no in the chat or throw your emoji in for yes. If a stranger were to come to you and look through your business records, look through your books, okay, look through your financials, would they be able to understand the whole story of your business, or would it be super confusing to them? So if a stranger were to come and look at your books, would they be able to be like, oh, well, this person buys at this place? Crystal, you're an accountant. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Knowing your background, I'm like, yeah, I would expect that from you. A lot of people will answer no on this question. A lot of people would be like, oh, I do mainly business, but I got some personal over here, and I'm not too sure, this is kind of mixed up. Bookkeeper, not accountant, but yes. No, it's practically the same. So we want to make sure that if our books are easy enough and done well enough for somebody else to come in and totally understand what we're talking about, right? How about it does? One of the things that Clean Records help you with is don't make it harder than it has to be, right? So think about audit anxiety here. Even if you are never audited, having clean records is way better than having messy ones at any time. The messy ones create low grade stress for you. Not knowing that I can go and look at any time and understand my profit, look at my cost of goods, know and make decisions off that information creates a low grade stress that you don't need. So you want to avoid having that audit anxiety tax, and Clean Records is going to do that for you. The other thing that Clean Records is going to do, it's going to get rid of the category fog. So what's category fog? That's when your personal and your business is so mixed up that you start to lump things into very vague categories. Instead of classifying things as shipping supplies, office supplies, subscriptions, whatever it may be, very concrete buckets of descriptions, you just start throwing everything in. Oh, these are miscellaneous expense. These are other expenses. They're very vague categories. It creates a category fog. You can't use that type of information proactively in your business to make really good decisions. You're kind of stuck with, well, I've got a whole bunch of money in miscellaneous, and all of a sudden most of your business expenses are miscellaneous or other. That's not useful information to you. So we want to avoid what we call category fog. The next one, this one hits if you are in business with a partner, like a spouse, a husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever, somebody else that lives in your same home that they may have a business and you may have a business. We don't want the spouse partner confusion loop. We need to avoid that. And that is where two businesses, husband and wife, and they're not separating anything, and you start going through those bank statements and you're like, oh, what was this? Was this your expense? Was this my expense? Now you have two businesses that are really messed up, right? So we want to avoid that. Clean Records help avoid that. Finally, as we move, hello, Liz. Y'all, if you are just joining, we are talking about separating personal and business finances and just things in life general. I'm focused mainly on finances, but this applies to credit cards, which is part of your finances, physical space, computers. All of this keeps your business and your personal segregated in your life and makes things so much cleaner and easier all the way around, reduces that mental fatigue that you get. I work from home. I work from home on my 9 to 5, and my whatnot businesses run out of my home. There is almost not a space that I can go into that I'm not reminded of work in some way, which is very dangerous and can be detrimental to mental health overall. So while we may be focusing mainly on finances, this really does apply across the board on separating that personal and business life. After a while, I had to establish rules in my house where whatnot is in the basement, my 9 to 5 is upstairs in my home office upstairs, and our general living areas, the living room, the kitchen, the dining room, the bedroom, kind of like those areas are business free, that they're not consumed by the others' businesses. Because when you're not physically getting in a car and driving to a place of employment and then driving home, having that separation is super difficult, and you need that time. You need that time to mentally adjust into the next role or mode that you're going into. Hello, previously mentioned. Oh, well, you were already here. You got a giveaway. Hello, though. Thank you for the hearts. So, Ginger Patch got the giveaway. Congratulations. So, personal spending muddies deduction. So let's just talk about, if you're doing this, let's look at some of the outcomes of this. I took a phone call, so I don't know if you said this, but also can you tell if your other money is covering? Absolutely. So we hadn't got there yet, but that is such a good point. When you are mixing your personal and your business finances together, you can't tell what your profit is. You can't tell if your personal is really hiding things, hiding issues in your business, because it's so mixed together that there's no clarity there. It's so easy to, I don't know if you guys have heard of Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law basically is that any task you have, if I have a 2-minute task, but I allow myself 5 minutes to do that 2-minute task, that 2 minutes will extend to the 5. It will automatically grow to the 5. It applies to the same things in your life, where as far as like space goes. If I have, a basket for stuff, but then all of a sudden I remove the basket and place it on the table, that junk will start to grow to accommodate that whole table versus just the basket. This also happens with your finances. So when you have your personal and your business mixed in there, it starts growing to encompass everything, and you can't tell the difference between the two. So you want to be really careful, particularly with the business. So when I talk about and I know I am extremely exhausted, so I may be like a little today. So when I talk about mixing the personal and the business and going to the point that Crystal made, that you can't tell what's business, is think about this. You have money in your bank. So think about it just from a personal perspective. Let's take the business out of the personal perspective. You have some money in your bank, you pay your bills, you do some grocery shopping. Maybe, you put some in savings and you got a little bit extra in your bank. You're just like, okay, well, that's my spending money. I can go to the mall with my girlfriend today and, go have some fun, pick up a few things if I see something I like. You go ahead and you just fill the spending with what's there. Once you start mixing that business money in there, now you're constantly playing this mental game of, well, how much of that is business? How much of it is personal? Am I really making a profit? It's like it's covered up. Your personal covers up your business, and you can't distinguish it and really understand what's happening in your business. If you were in the show this morning, you heard me talking about cash flow. And the number one thing that businesses fail at is cash flow. That's the number one reason that businesses fail, is improper cash flow. Well, it's not really the cash flow. That's the final straw. What it really is a bunch of other problems that lead up to it, and then ultimately you have no cash. All those other problems, not pricing right, not sourcing correctly, not understanding the supply and the demand, all of that can be seen through your financials, but not when they're muddied together, not when they're all mixed up. And so when we start thinking about separating it, it's not about being perfect. Look, I have a personal debit card and a business debit card, both at the same bank, and they both look exactly the same. I have to take Sharpie on my business one and write my business name on there. They look identical. So it's really easy to grab the wrong one. Even as a CPA, I am absolutely not perfect. There has been numerous times that I have grabbed my personal debit card to pay for a business expense on accident. So we're not talking about being perfect. We're talking about doing the best you can and creating healthy habits and having the separation as much as possible so that you can really understand your deductions and you can defend them if ever needed. Now, I don't say we do stuff just in case we're audited. We don't sit here. Being intentional, exactly, we're intentional with it. And we don't sit here and have this fear over being audited, because the odds are probably really slim. But if it were to ever occur, keeping that separate is defensible. That's what you use to defend yourself. After your show this morning, I opened a separate bank account. Yes! Oh, and bought an old school ledger. Oh, that warms my heart. I am so glad you opened a separate bank account. And when we talk about opening a separate bank account, I'm about to get to that point. It doesn't have to be like a business account. Mine isn't technically a business account. I had a savings account, an extra savings account that I wasn't really using at my bank. It's technically a checking. I was personally using it as savings. And I said, okay, you know what? I already have this account. That's going to be my business account. And then I quit doing anything personal out of there. So it's still under my personal name, but it is a completely separate account. So it's not as hard or as difficult as it may seem, like, oh, I got to do all this stuff to go open a business account. No, you just really you can pretty much do it right online to get an account. Linda Wells, congratulations. You got that giveaway. Murphy's Law, if you are ready for an audit, you won't need to be. And if you aren't ready, exactly. That is so it right there. If you start doing everything right, 10, 15 years from now, you're going to be like, man, I did all that bookkeeping really great. Nobody ever asked to see it. It's kind of like being a grown-up and you get new shoes and nobody asked if your new shoes made you run faster or not. That's what it's going to feel like. But ultimately, that's what you want to happen, right? So let's talk about personal and spending and how it muddies your deductions when you're putting all that personal and your business stuff together. First of all, we have the optics factor. We want to talk about this optics factor. So deductions aren't just about what's allowed. We talk a lot about tax deductions, but it goes further than that. It's not just about what's allowed. It's also about the pattern that those deductions create. So when they're viewed in total, if you were to be audited and an IRS agent comes in, they may ask about specific expenses, but they're also looking at the pattern overall and what looks weird. Does it look like a normal pattern? So having separate business and personal just immediately creates a better optic than having it muddied together. The other thing is the gray area. So when you have a personal and business expenses, you're more likely to push the envelope on your taxes. It's proven fact is when you have that all mixed up, think about the time we already talked about having to go back and think what did I spend at Target 8 months ago, and I spent $23.41 on at Target, right? Who knows? That was one transaction. If you think about hundreds and hundreds of those transactions and you're trying to sort through this at the end of the year, you get to the point where you're like, you know what? This is this type of expense. And you start lumping things in because you don't want to have to deal with digging through all those receipts and trying to classify it once a year instead of staying on top of it or doing it right and separating everything. So it gets to this gray area where you just start pushing through stuff. So you start taking more risk than you need to. And that can end up coming back and biting you in the butt big time with taxes. The other thing that we run into that we really got to watch for is called the split cart trap. So imagine you don't have separate business and personal account. You run to Walmart. You're going for some bubble wrap. You're going for a very legitimate business purpose. But while you're there, you see some Oreos and you're like, I can use some Oreos. And then you walk by that cool candle aisle and you're like, oh, I really need a candle. So you walk out of there with your bubble wrap, but you also got some Oreos and a candle going on too. You're either over deducting. If you put that receipt through as a business, it's either over deducting it or you're under deducting because you're like, most of this was personal. I just won't put this on my business expenses. Or you're spending a ton of time at the back end trying to split it all out, where it would have just been easier if you had two separate accounts to begin with. You paid for the business stuff under the business and the personal under the personal. So it's like any scenario you think about doesn't end up working out really well. It's not a great scenario when you're not separating those. Here's another scenario. Oh, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that, but I genuinely appreciate that. Thank you. So think about the gift purchase blur. This is what happens. You go to Walmart, or you go to Target, you're going to buy a legitimate giveaway gift. I want to go buy something cool to give away as a giveaway on my next big show. Well, while you're there, you're also like, oh, my sister's birthday's coming up. Let me get her a present. So again, we're kind of mixing this stuff up, right? If you go back and let's say the receipt says like Target on it, some common thing that sells personal and you can buy business stuff there, and you go back later on at the end of the year, how are you going to know if you just wrote gift on there? You're like, oh wait, that was right by my sister's birthday. So it just makes everything muddy. I've given a ton of examples here, and I'm sure you guys can think of more examples in ways that when you have combined your business and your personal, that it creates muddy. So what do? We do what we go back here and what previously mentioned said, and you create a business bank account. This is step one. This is the absolute easiest thing to do. You do not need a whole financial overhaul. You don't have to go and set up some fancy systems. You just need to log online to your bank and open up another account. It's as simple as that. And then designate that as your business account and start using that account for all of your business stuff. Go into Whatnot. Once you set up that account, go into Whatnot, change your payouts to that account, and get that debit card from that account. And then just have this hard and fast rule that I am only going to use this account for business stuff. It makes a world of difference, absolute world of difference. So why does this work? The biggest principle on why this works when you have a separate account is called the container principle. So money behaves better when it has a container. What do I mean by that? If any of you have ever read any financial planning book or listened to various podcasts, you may have heard what's called the zero balance budget, where you assign every dollar is assigned to something. Every single dollar is assigned to a certain type of income or expense. And when you're going to take money out of your business, you need to transfer it to you. Exactly. It makes it more intentional about pulling money out of that business account. It makes you stop and think about it like, ooh, if I'm going to pull money out for myself, how is that going to affect me? Am I going to have enough money left for sourcing and for supplies and for everything else, right? So it's a huge like motivator to stop and say, is it really worth me pulling this money out? So awesome point, Crystal. Thank you. So there is the concept of making sure that every dollar when you budget is assigned to something. That's the container principle. So a business account, having that separate business account kind of turns your business into like this living, breathing organism that has its own like needs and, it has its own goals and just its own like life to it in itself. And making all that money in that, I'm sorry, you got to quit with the noise. It's really distracting. My child's over here like trying to get dinner ready. So having that money in a container, what we call a container principle, it makes it like that's the business money. And that goes to what Crystal's saying. So if you have your business money here and you're like, oh, I need a little bit of personal money. I want to go have some fun this weekend. And you got to go and pull it out. It's like if you've been saving for a really long time and then you same feeling that you would get. The other one is, and this is what Crystal alluded to earlier, is the profit visibility unlock. When your business income, when you have all of your money in your business account, you can actually see if you're making money or not. Not just, you can put the whole concept of doing financial statements aside for now, because I don't expect that. We're talking about just having a separate business account. You can really start to see at the end of the month, at the end of 2 or 3 months, is this account growing? Or am I like, scraping by at zero every single week, right? It's very, very tangible and very visible into the performance of your business before you even start getting to the point of looking at financial statements. I'm talking just very high level. It's very eye-opening. And that type of information gets buried if you're mixing your business and your personal. So think about this. You do a couple of whatnot shows, you get to pull out, say, $2,000 and you put it into that business account that you created. The months going on, you're sourcing, you're buying supplies, you're doing all of this. Maybe good 5 or 6 weeks goes by and that account's like $100. And you're like, wait a minute, I've been busting my butt for 5 or 6 weeks and all I have is $100 in there? All that type of information is lost when it was mixed. But now you're like, man, that's a lot of work for $100 and I didn't even pull out any money personally. All I've been doing is my whatnot shows. I've been pouring all that money into that bank from the whatnot shows and I've been sourcing out of it and I've just been buying my supplies. So it becomes very, very eye-opening and informational just on a surface level to be like, wait a minute. Because at the end of the day, that net profit, we can talk about a whole profit margins and a profit and loss statement and balance sheets. But at the end of the day, either you made money or you didn't. And if you made money, then that question becomes, is the amount of money I made worth all that time I put into it? Having a separate business account really clearly that you look at starts to make that feel very, very tangible when I'm either looking at $100 after a whole month's worth of work, or I'm looking at $2,000 or $3,000 of growth after a whole month's work. So it's quite a eye-opening experience there. The other one is what we want to think about is what we call the inventory illusion. So this is when we have mixed accounts and it feels like, maybe you're constantly sourcing and stuff. And you think like, oh, well, I'm buying this because it's for the business. It's okay. I'm buying this because it's for the business. But you're not really seeing if it's supplies, if it's inventory, how that money's being spent. If it's inventory, buying inventory is far different than buying business supplies. Inventory ultimately becomes revenue. Inventory turns into something that makes you money, where supplies are there like a sunk cost. They just get used up. So when you're mixing it up, you have this illusion of, in your head, you're thinking, oh, I've been sourcing. But have you? Have you really? And you can't tell when it's mixed up. When you have your separate business account and you start classifying things into their right containers, you can start to see, oh, I'm only spending a little bit on sourcing. Sourcing that inventory is what's going to make you more money. but I'm spending a whole lot on fancy envelopes and stickers and giveaways. And it starts to become like, wow, maybe I need to put more into inventory. This is where those business decisions start to take life based on data versus feeling. When we mix it all together, we go a lot on feeling. The other thing is, and it kind of goes in with that, is what we're going to call shipping creep, where you start spending on supplies and you can't really figure out what you're spending on. Also, you can make an educated decision on buying equipment 100%. It's so easy. Look, when we mix everything together and we have all of our personal money in there and our business money and it's all mixed together, particularly if you got a roof over your head and your bills are paid and you're not scraping by for money, right? You're going on, maybe you're not super rich, but you're cool. You're good. You got some food on the table. You're comfortable. You have no worries about any of your electric being cut off, right? But all your money's mixed together. As long as you're feeling good, it's super easy to justify any type of business expense that you want without real business strategy or decision making behind it. It's super easy. If I mix all my money together, I'm like, oh, I've got some money in the bank. I really need that cool camera, or I need that latest iPhone, or I need a new iPad for this. It's really easy to justify spending that if you had a separate account and you really knew the truth of your business, you may not be purchasing. You may think twice and look at it very, very differently. Now, that might not sound like a whole lot of fun, but that does sound very much like a responsible business owner. And sometimes being a responsible business owner isn't the most fun thing ever. So the final thing is that we call it the confidence move. Separating finances is a mind shift. It's a mindset shift. I can't talk tonight. Is a mindset shift. We talk about going from this, this is just a hobby. I'm just kind of doing this on the side. Girl, the minute you sold something, you're a business. It's not just, I'm just doing this on the side. I'm just doing this as a hobby. You're a business. So it's taking your mindset to make it into that, look, I'm a CEO here. I am the owner of this business. So separating this out really brings life to your business. It in a sense, solidifies it kind of mentally anyways. We got another giveaway going. You start to enable, there goes, you're not getting no new toys. So when you make that mental mindset shift, and I'm like, okay, I'm separating everything. I'm going to keep business over here. It enables speed for yourself. And when I say speed, I mean, you can start answering business questions quickly. How wonderful is it if you say, how much money did I make last month? Well, if it's all muddied, guess what? I'm going to probably have to take a couple of hours, sort through every single receipt, sort through all my bank statements, sort through all my credit card statements. And then I'm going to be like, man, that's a lot of work. Don't worry about it. I'll do better next month. Versus if I have it separate, now I can start to say, oh, I know how much. It also, another question. Can we afford more inventory? Or going back to what Crystal said, can we afford to buy new equipment? When it's mixed up, you can't answer those questions about your business. And those are basic questions. Those are very, very basic questions to answer on your business. You should be able to answer those like that. I'm not even talking about how fast is my inventory turning over? What's my profit margin? What percentage of shipping am I spending compared to the total of all expenses? Like, there's a lot deeper financial questions that we haven't even got to. We're just talking surface level questions you can answer by separating it out. There is no way, if you don't separate it out, that you'll ever be able to dig deeper and answer real questions about your financial life of your business. The other thing it allows you to do by separating, and this is why it's also a confidence move, it establishes boundaries, financial boundaries, right? We talked about if we have this account, we're only going to use it for this account. It's a boundary that protects your household expenses from any business chaos, and it protects your business expenses from any household chaos. Never should the two meet. They're two completely different things. If you have all of your business and your personal mixed together, you may be making a profit in your business, but then your washing machine breaks and you got to go buy a new washing machine. Well, now you've just sucked all your profit into something in your house, into chaos in your house, and you didn't even realize that you did that. Whereas if I had them separate, my business over here, my personal here, my washing machine breaks, all I do is look at my personal and say, can I fix this through my personal account right now? How do I handle this with the money I have over here? And it doesn't affect your business. So think about it. If you don't do that, you've just used up all your money to buy new items to sell, shipping supplies. So you don't have that separation. So it's a lack of this confidence move if you're just eating up all that money and you don't even realize it. So having those boundaries is massive. You also stop, and this is huge, you guys. This is the biggest, probably besides just the pure financial impact, one of the best reasons why you need to separate business and financial. Decision fatigue drain. Mixed accounts. When you mix your business and your personal. I recently went on vacation and I was paying for the vacation with my whatnot earnings, but I didn't use my business card. But you used your earnings, right? Like you money that you decided to finally take out of your business account. That's how I'm reading it. You used your personal account, and I will transfer the money when it's time for accounting. There you go. As long as you have a system to keep track of it, that's really ultimately, what is the most important part of it. Because I'm assuming, Liz, that you have your head wrapped around it enough to know that you had this much profit that you could pull out and use for your personal vacation. But if it wasn't separated at all, it would be really hard to know if you even had that profit to begin with to use to go on vacation. Why are we doing this, you guys? Why are you a seller? It's not to not have money, right? I mean, bottom line, regardless if it's to put a kid through college, to go on vacations, to build up some savings, to get enough money to replace a full-time job, the ultimate goal is always tied back to making money in one way, shape, or form. So why aren't we protecting that money? Why aren't we taking the time necessary to protect what we all came here to do to begin with? Best thing, there you go. Liz says separating was the best thing she's ever done for her business. I totally agree. And when I talk about the decision fatigue, if you go back to those mixed transactions, every single transaction is that giveaway. So if you separate everything, it removes hundreds of micro decisions that you are making over and over and over again. Mental energy that you can put into improving your business or improving something in your personal life or learning a new skill or doing whatever else you want to do that's not consumed with how much is this, how much is business money, how much is personal, because it's all mixed together. It's huge. The mental fatigue is huge. You also give yourself a future gift. By separating your finances, you give yourself a future gift. Having separate accounts now gives you the future gift of cleaner books, easier tax prep, and the ability to scale without having to reconstruct everything, your foundation, basically. It is a future gift to yourself. It may feel like a little bit of a burden today. It may feel like, okay, I got this business account. I'll set it up. I got to make sure I have 2 different cards. I got to be conscientious when I buy something that I'm using the right debit card, or when I set up a new subscription online that I've put it onto the business account. You put it into the right account. It may feel a little bit like burdensome or like this administrative chore you never asked for and didn't want. Comes with being a business owner. But you're giving yourself easier time at tax season. Who here had a hard time at tax season? Who here was like in the last 3 months was like, geez, I wish I would have done my books a little bit better. There's quite a few of us. Quite a few people during tax season is when their eyes are open that they're like, man, I need to change some stuff in my business, right? Give yourself that future gift of having cleaner books. So one business account is the simplest upgrade you can make to your business today that will instantly make your business easier to run your business, to make everything better, like immediately start to improve your business. And it's like, I can't even explain, like literally go and open up your bank account or go online to whatever bank you use, and you can probably do it in less than 5 minutes and have a separate business account. Just like that. It's that easy. And then the next step is to start coming to Monday nights Ledger to Leadership and learn the accounting behind it. So then you can start digging into your numbers and actually understand what you're doing with all of these numbers. Like, okay, great, Tracy, got my separate business account, doing all my books, doing what I'm supposed to. Now, what is this going to do for me? How do I use this in my business? That's the next step. But the very first step is just open that account. Just open the account. That's a lot of what I had to talk about today. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. We've got a giveaway going for a couple more minutes. One key point that I haven't touched on, that it is a rule that I live by in everything that I do, and it took me many, many, many years to finally get it through this thick head of mine, is the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. I don't like to say the stupid part, but keep it simple. Keep it simple. Everything you do with your business, the best approach is the simple approach. The more intricate it is, the more steps it has, the more you need to be part of that process, the more it is going to be hindrance to growth, harder to delegate, harder to train somebody on, harder to replicate, more time intensive, more mental load. So you want to think about everything you're doing in your business, from finances to your inventory to your shipping, as keeping that system as simple and as few steps as you possibly can. So when we talk about school tech used to say, keep it simple, sister. I like that better. I think I like that. It's way better than stupid. Sassy vintage chick. Did she come in here? Did you see her? So keeping it as simple as possible. And for finances, have that separate bank account, get a debit card for that, and just use it. It's just a simple, there can't be anything more simple than just use that account. Now you're going to say, all right, Tracy, I'm new here. I'm new at, this business. I don't have a lot of money in that account yet. I can't afford to source yet. I only have $80 in the account. How do I source? How do I buy supplies? Well, if it was all mixed together, what would you do? Just start pulling it out of your personal funds, right? So go to your personal funds and say, okay, I'm going to transfer $100, $500, $1,000, whatever it is, from my personal bank to my business account. Just like if you're pulling money out of the business account, this makes you really stop and think, oh, wait, I just had to take $1,000 out of my personal money to fund my business. Okay, maybe if I'm just starting up, the vintage gypsy breed, congratulations. If you're just starting, that might be okay. But what if this is happening over and over again? What if you have these two separate accounts and you constantly run out of money in your business account and you're constantly saying, oh, I need another 500 for my personal, another 500 for my personal. What does that tell you? There's only two ways to fix a money problem. Only two ways. It's really, really easy. Again, we're going to boil it down to keeping it simple. You need more money coming in or less money going out. In this case, you're covering shortfalls with your personal money. Yeah, if your business isn't making money, okay, if I'm constantly having to put in personal money, but when it's all mixed together, that's not as visual, is it? It's not something you're seeing as much because there's all this money in the bank. You don't realize that you're keep pouring your personal money into this business. By separating it out, now you start to see where either you're succeeding or you're failing. And I don't want to make it sound like, oh, you're a failure, because I'm not saying you're a failure, but something in your business is failing. Something in your business is not right. It needs your attention. If that bank account is never growing, if you constantly have to keep funding it from your personal account, but you won't be able to see that unless you have those two separate accounts.
She's geeking out again.
I am. I get excited about this stuff. This is the stuff that, because it's these really small things that, why did you put funky glasses on me? My goodness. He's been doing this all day.
She's geeking out.
I don't look at myself because I don't like to look at myself on the screen. And so I never know when he does this, puts these weird pictures on me. So now you got me all distracted. I do get excited about this because when you start seeing, the geek glasses are taped, yes. When you start seeing that your bank account, that your business, that you're constantly having to put your own money into it, that signifies a problem of somewhere. Now you know, right? Because you have a problem in your business, that is not a failure. That's an opportunity to improve your business. Once you know the problem, that's the first thing. You can't fix anything and make it better until you're aware of it. So separating it out is the first step into gaining that awareness. Once you're aware, guess what? Now you can fix it. Now Now you have a chance to really make a difference in your business and fix whatever that issue may be. And it's only one of two issues. Again, I go back to one of two things. It's either you're not bringing enough in or you're putting too much out. So now you start, dissecting this. So you look at, am I bringing enough in? And you're like, well, yeah, you know what? I'm bringing in $10,000 a month or whatever it is. And so now maybe it's an outflow problem. Maybe it's a sourcing problem. Maybe it goes back to, like I was saying this morning with your cash flow, maybe it's an inventory problem. Maybe you don't got good enough inventory. So this is the very first step. And that's kind of what I want to just come back to. Separating that money is the absolute first thing you need to do. I wish that it would be like this, big, huge pop-up on your screen. Like, do you want to be a seller? Yes, you want to be a seller. You click all the buttons and whatnot says, congratulations, you're a seller. First thing you need to do is go get a separate bank account. I wish it would, like, whatnot would get behind it and help all of the sellers here, particularly new ones, with a little bit of financial literacy in business, because we don't come here to whatnot to sell stuff because we love accounting or we love finances. We do it because we love what we're doing. So that's my rant. That's my blah, blah, blah. I keep going on and on rant, but keep it simple. Get a separate bank account. That's all there is to it. Here you go. Look at Zoey wants to say hi real quick, y'all. She doesn't come on my shows very often, but she happens to be home. This is Xoey of Xoey's Treasures, y'all. This is the namesake of the business here. We are in Orlando for her cheer comps. Yes, okay, now you can go, child. But no business really does that. It's up to you to it's up to you. And Whatnot's not going to tell you how to run your business. What Whatnot wants you to do is sell stuff so they make money. Let's face it, that's their goal. That's their business goal, is to make money. So it's up to us to come to talks like these and to go read on our own and watch YouTube videos and do what we need to do to learn how to be good business owners.
Yes, Liz. She's the real one.
And the real, yes, that's the real Xoey. So today was just practice day. So tomorrow is the first round of competition. We will know. I checked the schedule. I thought we were going to be there like 8 hours. We've got to get there at 10. And the last reveal is at 9:30 tomorrow night. So we will be there all day long. And we will find out how she does.
Hey.
Hello, Blasian Bunny.
Hello, Blasian.
Fingers crossed that she's on two teams, that both teams advance, and that she actually will get to compete on Sunday too and have a chance at taking home the championship title. So we are fingers crossed. We'll see. One team she's up against 19 other teams. And how much is Cheetahs? I think Cheetahs is like the other team she's up against like 12 teams. 13. So 13 teams. So it is not one of those competitions where it's like, here, everybody gets a participation trophy. They're just kind of like cut and dry. Like, yeah, you scored enough or you didn't. So, but that's cheer. Need
Bunny,
to find it. It isn't.
You missed it. She was geeking out.
Yes, my husband's been doing funny like graphics on my face, which I'm not thrilled about, but it's entertaining. So there we go. Good evening. Crystal, need to find it. Isn't it televised? Her cheer comp is televised. It is on Varsity TV. Not that anybody needs to go and watch it, but if you have another like cheerleader in your life somewhere, a niece or cousin or grandchild, Varsity TV is where it is on. So, do you love cheer stuff? Well, you can check it out on Varsity. So, with that, you guys, we're going to go right unless there's some questions. Again, this is the first time I've done this. We are trying on Friday mornings. I usually do business and tax talks. I kept finding that I was rushing through the tax stuff because the business seemed to be just more of what there was a lot of questions on. So we're splitting it up into morning and evenings now moving forward for Fridays. So if you've already spent money to build inventory, keep track of that. And then when you start, yes, absolutely. Keep track of anything, the mileage that you drove to buy that inventory. Before the date of you actually starting your business, you are allowed to deduct that as startup cost. So all of that, even if like, say from June through December in 2025, you were getting stuff together, you were getting it all ready, all of that would be considered startup cost if you started your business on January 1st of 2026. So all of that still is tax deductible. It's still part of the money that you've spent in your business. And you're going to want to know that because that's an investment that you've made. That investment, you're going to want to know when you recoup that because you're not making a profit in your business, actual profit until that money has been recouped. To give you an example of this, we sell, I don't have them today because we're in Orlando and I can't fulfill orders if they were to be ordered, but we sell Live Seller Link. They're cards, you tap them, gives you all your social information on there. So they're really cool. But we invested into that. What? I'm sorry, what? Yes, their cards, their phones, their keychain. You can put tags on your phone or your keychain. However, we invested in that. We bought equipment for it. We had an X number of dollars that we invested to make this part of our business start to happen, right? We keep a spreadsheet. I keep a separate spreadsheet that I know exactly how many of those we need to sell until we have broken even. And now that is a profitable portion of our business until we are now in the black on that business. Do you track, wow, Whatnot's changed everything. All the fonts are different colors. Do you track the year from the time you started selling? 2025 start and now is 2026. So all of that startup expense, your business technically starts the minute you start selling and the minute you establish, hey, I'm going into business today. You kind of pick your start date for your business. Anything before that you've done before that could be considered startup cost. Now let's look at this realistically, okay? The way those laws were written, the way those regulations were written from the IRS, they're looking at large corporations that may invest in building warehouses and building offices and spending millions of dollars before they ever open the doors for business. That's what these laws were designed for. So when they're thinking about it from an IRS perspective, they're talking a lot bigger numbers than what we normally have on Whatnot. So realistically for us as resellers, what that looks like is I join Whatnot in August. I'm watching for a month or two. By October, I'm like, I've bought a lot of stuff. This is really cool. I'm going to start selling. It's all within the same year, the same time frame. You just say, okay, I started my business on this date. Here's all my expenses. And you don't really need to segregate the startup cost versus your starting. Now, if it crosses over years, I would even just say January 1st, I have all this money already invested in this business. Because it gets a little into the weeds of talking about the actual IRS code on how that works. But the way it was written was really for stuff a lot larger. Now, if you really spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars and it's stretched over a long period of time, 8, 9, 10 months before you start business, I would then talk to your tax prep person about separating out startup cost from the date that you started business. But realistically, for most of us, the minute we start buying stuff to the date we start selling is really just a matter of weeks, if not months. It's a very short time frame in the same tax year, typically. I hope that answered your question. It's a lot of information, but sometimes I find it difficult I want to answer it technically correct, but there's a huge difference just in anything. I mean, you all know this from whatever you guys do besides Whatnot and whatever expertise that you have. There's a vast difference in the technical knowledge and how it actually applies in real life, what it really looks like, particularly from a large corporation to a Whatnot seller. So while I want to give you the exact technical answer, I also want to make sure that I'm answering in a way that's very relevant to the majority of Whatnot sellers. All right. Y'all, I think we're going to go on raid. We're going to try to keep these to about an hour. We've been on for about an hour, unless there's other questions. I always say, if you guys have questions, I am always here. DM me. I do try to answer within about 24 hours at the latest. So if you have any other questions, accounting, tax, we're going to keep doing these. We're going to have a new tax accounting type topic every Friday night that goes along with our Friday morning types of discussions. Thank you so much. That is so sweet. Definitely come back, you guys. I would love to just, if you have any questions, and it doesn't have to be tax focused. A lot of this stuff, it's not just tax. It all kind of blends together with how you keep your books, best practices, things to do. So we will be back next week. I do not have the topic off the top of my head, but we will be back next Friday. Been listening. Really great topic. Appreciate the. Thank you so much, Custom Wood Burning. I'm so glad that you got to make it here. All right, y'all. Have a great night. I have no idea who's on, but we're going to go find somebody. All right, my husband says we're going to go see, you know what? We're going to go see Tia. Tia was recommended to me to be a CEO candidate for our next season. So we're going to go see Tia. Yes. I can't hear. So if she's saying anything, you're gonna have to.